They had traded the chaos of war zones for the quiet rhythm of farmland. After 20 years as a decorated Navy SEAL, he bought a plot of land in rural Georgia, married the love of his life, Amara, and devoted his days to tending soil, raising cattle, and staying far from trouble. But trouble found him. One warm afternoon, while Isaiah was mending a fence on the far end of his property, a black SUV rolled up to the farmhouse. Amara, baking cornbread inside, didn't have time to scream. A gang of masked men stormed the house, gagged her and dragged her away. They left behind a note scrawled in grease pencil on the kitchen table. "You owe, we collect. Come alone." Isaiah knew exactly who they were, ghosts from a mission gone wrong in Honduras over a decade ago. He dismantled a cartel's operations and walked away thinking the past was buried. But vengeance has a long memory. By the time the sheriff's office arrived, Isaiah had already gone. He opened a hidden compartment in the barn and pulled out a sealed trunk. Inside, the tools of his old life: tactical gear, encrypted radios, maps, and a suppressed handgun. He didn't need backup. He was the backup. Tracking the gang through tire marks, Isaiah followed them to an abandoned lumber mill deep in the woods. Drones overhead, silent comms in his ear, and night vision in place, he became the ghost again. One by one, he neutralized guards, slipping through shadows like smoke. The gang never saw him coming. Inside the mill, Amara was tied to a chair, bruised but defiant. The leader, a man Isaiah once left alive in Honduras, paced in front of her with a cruel smile. "Your husband's just a farmer now," he sneered. "Ain't nobody coming for you." Seconds later, the lights cut out. What followed was silent chaos. A flashbang cracked the night, doors burst open, and Isaiah moved with the precision of muscle memory. In under 3 minutes, the gang was on the floor, groaning, unconscious or worse. He untied Amara with shaking hands. "You okay, baby?" She nodded, tears falling. "I knew you'd come." By dawn, the sheriff's deputies were hauling away the battered criminals, baffled at how a farmer had dismantled a violent gang alone. Isaiah offered no explanation. He just went back to repairing the fence. Because for Isaiah Carter, war wasn't over. He'd just learned to fight with quieter weapons until someone gave him a reason to remember who he truly was. And when they did, Amara Carter lived a simple, quiet life in the countryside. Their farm sat miles away from the nearest town, a peaceful stretch of land surrounded by forest, hills, and silence. Neighbors called them the strong couple, always working together, always smiling. But nobody knew the truth about Isaiah. Not even Amara knew everything. One Friday morning, while Isaiah hauled hay bales, Amara drove into town to pick up supplies. She never came back. Her phone stopped ringing. Her truck was found abandoned near a gas station. On the seat was a burner phone and a message. "We've got her. You know what this is. You know what we want." Isaiah's past slammed into his chest like a freight train. Years ago, before the farm, before peace, Isaiah was known in military circles as Ghost Six. A silent killer. A master of recon and close combat. The government wiped his record clean when he retired, for his safety and theirs. But some enemies don't care about retirement. Isaiah opened a steel container buried beneath the chicken coop. Inside, a satellite phone, a survival kit, and a folder labelled Op Backlash, evidence of a mission that exposed a corrupt arms network in Eastern Europe. He'd buried it all, thinking it was over. But now they had Amara. In 24 hours, Isaiah had flown to Atlanta under a new identity, met with an old SEAL buddy who owed him a favor, and traced the signal from the burner phone to a safe house owned by ex-mercenaries. What happened next wasn't a gunfight. It was a lesson. He infiltrated the house using a storm drain, took out 3 guards silently, and walked into the basement where Amara was held, blindfolded but alive. The leader of the group, Carl Drasek, a rogue arms dealer, looked stunned. "You're supposed to be dead." Isaiah answered by flipping the light switch off. 10 seconds of darkness, then silence. When the lights flickered back on, Drasek was on the floor. Amara was in Isaiah's arms. They left no trace. Not a single camera worked by the time authorities arrived. The only evidence was a phrase spray-painted on the safe house wall: "Never touch a SEAL's heart." Back at the farm, Isaiah and Amara didn't say a word about what happened. They just got back to planting spring tomatoes. But from that day on, every stranger who passed through town felt it. Something in Isaiah's eyes, something ancient, something dangerous, because he wasn't just a farmer, he was a spoke of Millstone Hollow. Isaiah Freeman was just that quiet man on the ridge, a black farmer with strong hands, a soft voice, and eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. Most people chalked it up to a hard life. They were only half right. He and his wife Lena lived in a modest farmhouse nestled between golden fields and dense pine. He grew corn. She sold pies at the farmer's market. Life was simple until the day the convoy rolled in. 5 trucks, heavily tinted windows, armed men. A gang calling themselves the Red Reapers, running guns and terrorizing small towns, now looking to use Millstone Hollow as a new trafficking route. Locals were warned to keep quiet. Isaiah didn't say a word. So they took Lena. They kicked in the front door, ransacked the house, and dragged her out while Isaiah was working in the barn. By the time he got back, all that remained was Lena's wedding ring on the floor and a business card with a blood-red skull on it. Isaiah didn't go to the sheriff. He went to the attic. Up in the dust and cobwebs was a sealed crate labelled Isaiah Freeman DevGru, the elite tier of Navy SEALs. Inside, encrypted gear, satellite intel books, an old combat blade, and a photo of his squad, most of whom were no longer alive. He hadn't touched any of it in years, but he hadn't forgotten how. Using contacts that still owed him favours from Black Ops days, Isaiah tracked the gang to an old meatpacking plant converted into a hideout. No alarms, no cameras. They thought the country town would never fight back. At 2 a.m. the power grid failed. Then the radios, then the perimeter guards went dark. One by one they fell. Isaiah moved like water, silent, swift, and devastating. He didn't come for mercy. He came for Lena. And when he found her in a locked room, bruised but unbroken, he whispered, "Close your eyes, baby. I got you." In the following minutes, the gang's reign ended in a storm of precision. By sunrise, the plant was burning, the Red Reapers were gone, and Isaiah was back home, fixing a broken gate like nothing had happened. The sheriff showed up confused. "We heard gunfire. Something happen out here?" Isaiah looked up, calm. "Just had to handle some pests." Lena stepped out onto the porch, smiled at her husband, and said nothing. Because now Millstone Hollow knew Isaiah Freeman wasn't just a farmer. He was a man with a past and a warning. Hurt what he loves, was a man everyone respected, but no one truly knew. Isaiah Zeke Daniels was a tall, stoic black farmer with calloused hands, a weathered hat, and a 1,000-yard stare. He kept to himself, ran a successful small farm with his wife Naomi, and rarely ventured into town unless it was Sunday service or supply runs. Nobody knew he once led missions behind enemy lines. Nobody knew he had over a dozen confirmed kills as a Navy SEAL. And nobody knew that crossing him meant waking a sleeping lion until the Black Vultures rolled into town, a ruthless gang looking to buy protection from local businesses. They shook down shop owners, torched farms, and made examples of anyone who resisted. Zeke stayed quiet until they grabbed Naomi during a raid meant to send a message. They took her in broad daylight. That night, Zeke dug up the steel coffin buried under the old chicken coop. Inside, his SEAL uniform, a custom M4 rifle, encrypted GPS devices, tactical knives, and a weathered photo of his old team, half of them now ghosts. He hadn't used the tools in years, but his hands still remembered. The gang holed up in an abandoned truck depot 2 towns over, fortified with men, dogs, and machine guns. Local cops refused to go near it. "Too dangerous," they said. Zeke didn't blink. Under cover of darkness, he made his way in. No backup, no fanfare, just vengeance and elite training. The first explosion took out the generators. The second sent the gang into chaos. Zeke moved through the shadows like a spirit of war, disarming booby traps, disabling vehicles, and disabling gang members without a sound. When he reached the top floor, Naomi was locked in a room, bloodied but breathing. Her eyes lit up. "I knew you'd come," Zeke smiled. "You always know." As the sun rose, the entire compound was burning. By the time authorities arrived, Zeke and Naomi were already home, sitting on the porch, sipping coffee like any other morning. Reporters asked the sheriff who did it. The sheriff shrugged. "Some say it was the farmer, but I don't know any farmers who move like that." Back in town, the gang was gone for good, and from that day on, everyone gave Zeke a little more space and a lot more respect. Because now they knew he wasn't just tending crops, he was guarding something sacred, and when you touch that, he stops being a farmer and becomes something else entirely.